Oh, I gotta make another video about this because I loved it. It's memories. It's my old life, like the happier moments of my life, like being taken over. Um, there was this gypsy group, and it goes back to the old times of gypsies and cutting off the hands. Really, um, they had been going to a prison camp. Like I say, there was also Australia. That was another prison colony that just kind of turned into a city or town. Anyway, one of my concentration camps, or one of my camps, there these it was during World War II. Somehow they had been rounded up, and they hadn't been killed right away, which is a good thing. So they had been rounded up, and or they knew they could bribe their way to a real settlement spot, and they found themselves in the desert or somewhere near the desert or someplace. I don't really know where this was. It was not exactly the best place, but like I said, there were a bunch of con artists and a bunch of thieves, and and I say that with the most loving and respect, really. Like they knew business. They were gypsies. They were entrepreneurs. Anyway, they found themselves in a concentration camp. At first, they skimmed off of people that came in, and then, but they used it to bribe and get more things taken to that camp. Like I said, they turned the camp around, and then there was a nearby city that was kind of getting run down. The guy was a drunkard, they said, or something like that. Didn't know how to run things, so they kind of moved themselves into that. They're like, we were in one of your concentration camps. We let ourselves out. Like, look at you. So they let themselves out, or made sure that their group got into the city, and they put themselves in a position of power by bribing and selling things, basically. Or they did their own little way, and they took over a town, and they set up a market, and they made sure goods and stuff from their community went to that market, and they basically used the city as their little selling spot, like their own little gypsy away from home, basically. Just went, and they paid for the police, and they bribed and did everything, and I was like. They're like, you don't know how to negotiate or make deals. You don't do anything right. We do it for you. I was like, okay. I'm running this huge, big empire, person of flight. I'm running like countries. And there's this little gypsy group like talking to me like you don't know how to negotiate. It's like, I don't really negotiate. You're right. So, yeah, I was laughing. I was laughing so hard because it was so cute. This woman was talking to me and dressing me down. And anyway, and it was one of the gypsies, and I was like, or one of the Arab people, and I don't know exactly which group it was, but it was really cute because they let themselves out of the concentration camp, made the concentration camp or the work camp. They were just sitting around, so they actually put the people to work farming and doing stuff anyway. And then there was a nearby city which they helped finish or something like that, and then they turned the city into a real community, a real town. This was way back in time, like 1920s, 1908, when things were really changing. And it was a gypsy group or acrobatic group or something. They were thieves, basically. Oh, I'll be nice about it. They were thieves, and they set up a little black market, and they started selling things and kind of started skimming off the government. They were skimming off of me, it's true. I was like, well, hey, I can afford it. So they were skimming off the higher government. And they were polite about it. They told me about it. They're honest. So I was like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, hey. So anyway, apparently the town magistrate or the town person was a drunk, didn't know what he was doing, couldn't run his police department. There was crime and stuff. Hey, there's crime in your city. We know because we are the crime. I was laughing. I was like, "Oh, you're why all those supplies are going missing in that town." Oh, okay. Because there's this town I was doing an investigation on. There's all this stuff that was going missing. I was like, "How can this be? How can I be losing this much stuff inside of a city?" It's like, "Oh, I have a little gypsy parasite. That's how." Oh, okay. Anyway, they finally contacted me, and I just felt nothing but love for them because, like, they turned the town around. They set up a market. Next thing you know, I mean, they were paying for the cops themselves. They were just kind of like it's like Germany, Hitler, and it was like gypsy community. and Gypsy Town, USA, or Gypsy Town, Germany, or whatever. Anyway, it was I really felt nothing but love for them because they were, they contacted me and not physically, of course, but they found their way to the top or whatever, and they contacted me, and they're like, we took over one of your towns and we turned it around. And, set up some mines ourselves and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, look at you, starting out just like all of us all of us big countries out here, or all us big leaders out here. Anyway, they're using bribes and stuff, but they kept the crime. They actually stopped a lot of the crime, and they took over the town. And I was like, whatever, just one town. I can lose a town. That's fine. I mean, they built the town. I mean, the town was half finished when they got there, and I was having problems with stuff. Supplies were missing. Supplies kept going missing, so I was like, but they would just sneak in the under the cover of darkness. Like I'd have supplies at a yard or something like that for the town, building the town, and they would sneak in, steal the supplies, and go build the concentration camp or whatever, or built this other town. So they like used my supplies to build another town, their town. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I can afford it, so not a big deal. Anyway, so I mean, it was just a couple, it was just a couple train loads, that's all. It's like, not that big of a deal. I mean, I could afford it. I mean, I was resettling people, and technically there were people, and they were resettling, so, hey, whatever. So anyway, though, and it wasn't too long before they got their own mine and their own everything, and they just kind of like leached off of me for long enough until they could build their own community. And I was like, well, that's what we're doing here on Earth. This was way back in time, and like I said, I just got to bring it up because, I mean, I felt nothing but love for them. They were just trying to survive, and they had stolen a bunch of stuff, like trainloads of stuff, like taking off little bits and little bits and little bits, and hardly enough to notice. It was somewhere in the desert community, so. Anyway, yeah, I felt nothing but love for them. Great, 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 wonderful people. So, yeah, gypsies. I guess you'd call them Arab people or whatever. People, I don't know. I mean, they were con artists. They were They started this little con artist thing too, where they taught. They're actually kind of like all the used car salesmen. That's kind of where it started. They started this whole little selling thing, and they did this whole, they started doing this whole marketing, how to be a salesman stuff, and that's where that really comes from. It comes from the gypsy community, and they were barterers and this and that, and maybe they were part of my civilization a long time in the past, and they had just been hanging around or something. Anyway, I talked to them, and they were really awesome, and so. Hey, I was like, yeah, whatever, keep the supplies. I don't care. That's fine. I can afford it. I mean, come on. Westinghouse, the Titanic. I mean, I was building this town that was going to be, well, what it was I was building a town for the people in the concentration camp. But apparently the guy who was doing it was a drunkard or something like that, or drinking too much and didn't really care or something, and the town was half finished and was having lots of problems, until the gypsies were sitting inside the camp, sitting there, and they're like, well, we're just sitting here, so we started making profit and stuff. So I mean, anyway, they got themselves, they bribed the leader of the town to let them out or something like that, and I was just like, hey, what am I going to do? It's like, I'm not going to say anything about it. I mean, hey, non-violent, and no one got hurt, and they actually ended up feeding the town, like I say. They ended up setting up farms and turned the whole thing around, and a city became because of them. So I was like, cool. Like, we just want you to know what we did. It's like, I was laughing so hard because it was so cute, and I was like, yes, whatever you need. What else do you need? Actually, at that point in time, I was like, do you need anything else? I'll send a couple more trains their way. I'm like, well, since you asked. So anyway, I think they were kind of like, they started getting real orders. They someone got into the army or whatever, and then they got real supplies there. So anyway, I didn't mind. I was like, whatever, pay me back someday. But yeah, I love the gypsies. They were one of my favorite groups.